Hey, this is E-Rock here with another debrief, this time on the late night war between George Lopez and Conan O'Brien. Maybe not a war, maybe just a saga. Did Lopez get Leno'd? Opinions vary.
I am not getting Leno'd.
And I have to say, this video has the saltiest comment section of any video I've done yet. Compared to my next biggest one, Leno versus Conan, it's only been out half as long, it's only got a third as many views, but it's got 2/3 as many comments, and almost all of them, is George Lopez really Latino? How was I supposed to know? Yeah. Most of the comments seem to be directed at, is George Lopez a fraud, a hack, is he funny or not funny? Is racial humor low-hanging fruit for a comedian? Probably, yes. I've seen lots of comics of various ethnicities. I've seen Indians, I've seen African Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, all doing ethnic comedy. Is it low-hanging fruit? Maybe. Is it invalid? The interesting parallel for me would be Jeff Foxworthy and the whole blue-collar comedy style. Because he would never be accused of using racial humor per se, because he's a white comic directing his comments at a white group, but I think just like Lopez or Chris Rock or any of the comedians who did a lot of mileage on ethnicity, he's sort of positioned himself to be the spokesperson for a specific group of people, whether that's good or bad. Are Jeff Foxworthy's attitudes reflective of all rednecks everywhere? Probably not. But he sort of positions himself as the hero to the redneck. I think it was obvious early on in Foxworthy's career that he was taking a lot of these jokes that were in the public domain. You might be a redneck. I had seen a lot of those floating around for years before he ever came on the stage from all various people. And I don't think Foxworthy has ever really been shy about saying that he picked up a lot of those jokes that were already floating around, and that after he became famous, a lot of people send him redneck jokes, and if they're funny, then he'll put them into his act. He's kind of like a crooner, kind of like Frank Sinatra, who never wrote a song, but he sings them real good. Jeff Foxworthy might not have written a lot of those redneck jokes, but he tells them real good. And he followed up by building an entire act around that. So I just see a lot of comparisons between someone like Lopez and someone like Foxworthy, who has built an entire act, maybe using some of that low-hanging fruit or some of these easy jokes as sort of the basis, but he's built the rest of his act around it. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Lopez to really know if he's really got the chops or not. He seems to have a big following and a lot of detractors on the outside of that following. So I don't know what's fair. All I know for purposes of this video is that he had a late-night talk show briefly. I probably wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for one of my YouTube commenters, and I apologize because I can't remember your name right now. I'd have to go through a couple thousand comments to find it. A commenter on the Conan-Leno war, because I had briefly included the part about Lopez in that one, because it seemed like very obvious that Conan did exactly to him what Leno had done to Conan, and that a lot of people might think Conan was hypocritical, but it was interesting to me that Lopez had come out on the front end of it and said that he was okay with it. So then one of my commenters said, well, there's a more in-depth Howard Stern interview where Lopez says, well, I wasn't really fine with it, but I didn't have any choice. So I thought that would be interesting, and then I started to look into that more. This video is very padded, and some people have said that in the comments. First of all, at the beginning, because I thought maybe a lot of people didn't know Lopez had a talk show, I thought I should sort of do a brief presentation of what his show was like. I don't know if what I presented was a fair sampling of his real show. I went to the Wikipedia and I found what are some of his signature bits: bullet hole, not a bullet hole, or creepy little white girl. And so I tried to find some of those to put in there, but I don't know if that's indicative of his whole show or his whole monologue or comedy bits or interview style. But I just tried to put his show in a nutshell as much as I could. So, and then from there we go on to Conan displacing him at TBS. And then really, just because I thought it was funny and I didn't have anywhere else I thought to put it, I did a lot of the Conan versus basic cable kind of stuff, and that whole section doesn't really relate to Conan and Lopez. Probably should have not been in the video, because I do actually try to make videos as short as I can while including stuff that I find interesting. I'll include as much stuff as I can if it's relevant, and it might be a long video, but I don't want to include too much irrelevant stuff, and that really was irrelevant. So if I ever do a revised version of that, I would trim some of that down. I think more of the story of Lopez and Conan probably happens off camera when you get to the idea that it seemed like Lopez probably was on the bubble for cancellation before Conan came anyways. Probably just because, you know, the ratings were not super high and it probably cost too much money. They'd rather just show reruns. And Conan coming in really did kind of buy Lopez's second year because Conan didn't want it to look like he had Leno'd Mr. Lopez. So, but I mean, I guess all that got into the video anyways, so it was just another fun learning experience for me. I just keep spinning out debrief videos to kind of fill time because I've been working on another late night saga entry. Hopefully people will like it and hopefully it'll be out soon.